Good afternoon, everyone. Today we're going to explore one of the most dramatic moments in the Torah, Yaakov's perilous return home after 20 years in exile. We'll be guided by Rashi's brilliant analysis, which reveals layers of strategic thinking, psychological insight, and profound faith. This is truly the Strategists' Gambit. Let's set the scene. After 2 decades in exile with Laban, Yaakov is finally coming home. But an old sin casts a long shadow over his return. He must now face his estranged brother, Esau. Look at the contrast here. Yaakov is returning with his family and the wealth he gained from Laban, but he's vulnerable and on the move. Esau, meanwhile, is established, powerful, and approaching with a formidable retinue of 400 men. The text poses 2 haunting questions. Do you bow to show friends how you've kept ancient agreements? And more urgently, how do you prepare to meet the brother you wronged, who now approaches with an army? Yaakov's opening move is fascinating. The biblical text from Bereshit 32:5 reads, "Thus shall you say to my lord Esau, thus says your servant Yaakov, I stayed with Laban and remained until now. I have acquired cattle, asses, sheep, and I send this message to my lord in the hope of gaining your favor." Immediately zeroes in on the phrase, your servant Yaakov. He explains that Yaakov immediately inverts the patriarchal blessing, be master over thy brethren, establishing instead a posture of subservience. Then notice the phrase, I have acquired cattle, asses. Rashi notes this is a subtle message. My wealth is not from the divine dew of heaven you coveted. It is mundane. My blessing has not deprived you. This is diplomatic genius, simultaneously showing humility and removing Esau's primary grievance. Now we get to one of Rashi's most famous interpretations. The word gati means I have sojourned, but Rashi reveals it operates on 2 levels simultaneously. The plain meaning, the pshat, I have become a mere sojourner, not a prince or a man of importance. The blessing, be master over thy brethren, has not been fulfilled. You have no reason to hate me for it. But there's also a hidden meaning, a darash, the numerical value. The gematria of Gati is 613, corresponding to Talyag, the 613 commandments. The hidden message is, though I lived with the wicked Laban, I have observed the 613 commandments and have not learned his evil ways. This takeaway is crucial. Yaakov's message is a masterpiece of diplomacy, communicating both humility and righteousness simultaneously. He's disarming Esau while maintaining his own integrity. The messengers return with ominous news. Bereshit 32:7. We came to your brother Esau. He himself is coming to meet you, and his retinue numbers 400. Look at that visual. 400 men marching toward Yaakov. Rashi's insight here is penetrating. Commenting on the phrase to your brother to Esau, Rashi reveals the messenger's subtext. You called him your brother. But he is behaving towards you as Esau the wicked. He is still harboring hatred. The repetition in the text exposes the disconnect between Yaakov's hopeful language and Esau's hostile reality. Now we come to Yaakov's emotional response. The biblical text from Bereshit 32 verse 8 uses an unusual double expression. Vayera, he feared, and vayetzer, he was distressed. Rashi explains these aren't redundant. They represent 2 distinct fears. Vayera, he feared. He was afraid lest he be killed, the fear of suffering violence. Vayetzer, he was distressed. He was distressed that he might have to kill someone, a fear of committing violence. The key insight, Yaakov's fear is not just for his own life, but for his own soul. He is afraid of both being a victim and becoming a killer. This is the mark of a truly righteous person, concerned equally about what might happen to him and what he might be forced to do to others. So how does Yaakov respond? With remarkable sophistication. The biblical text from Bereshit 32, 8-9 describes his approach. He divided the people with him into two camps, thinking, if Esau comes to the one camp and attacks it, the other camp may yet escape. Rashi explains that Yaakov prepared himself for three distinct possibilities. First, war, if conflict is unavoidable. He divides his camp so that if Esau attacks one, the remaining camp may escape. This is pure military pragmatism. Second, diplomacy and gifts, if Esau can be appeased. Vayikach mincha, he took a gift. This is the language of reconciliation. Third, prayer, if divine intervention is required. Vayome Yaakov, then Yaakov said, meaning he turned to prayer. Rashi's strategic framework shows us that Yaakov prepared himself for three distinct possibilities, and he didn't just choose one path, but prepared for all three simultaneously. When Yaakov prays, he doesn't just ask for help, he makes a legal case. Bereshit 32:10. Then Yaakov said, O God of my father Avraham and God of my father Yitzchak, O Lord, who said to me, return to your native land and I will deal bountifully with you. Rashi's insight. Why invoke God in multiple ways? Look at the two promises. At Be'er Sheva, when leaving home, God appeared as God of Avraham and Yitzchak. Bereshit 28. At Haran, when told to return, God appeared as the Lord. Bereshit 31. The conclusion? Yaakov is not just praying and theological case, holding God to his specific covenants. He's saying, you made these promises to me at specific times in specific ways. Now I'm calling upon those exact commitments. Yaakov's prayer continues with the word katonti, katonti, I am unworthy or have been diminished. The biblical text from Bereshit 32:11. I am unworthy of all the kindness that you have so steadfastly shown your servant. With my staff alone I crossed this Jordan, and now I have become two camps. Rashi's theological explanation is crucial here. This is not false modesty. Yaakov is expressing a genuine fear. The concept. My merits are diminished in consequence of all the kindness you have already shown me. Every time God protects us, we use up some of our merit. The fear. Therefore I am afraid. Perhaps since you made the promises, I have become corrupted by sin, which may cause me to be delivered into Esau's power. This reflects a profound spiritual accounting. Yaakov worries that his moral standing may have eroded during his time with Laban. Now Yaakov makes his direct request. Bereshit 32:12. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau. Else I fear he may come and strike me down, mothers and children alike. Rashi asks about the repetition. Why say from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau? Isn't that redundant? The interpretation, from the hand of my brother, who is not behaving as a brother should, but rather as Esau the wicked. The phrase captures the tragic dissonance between familial expectation and hostile reality. One side says, my brother, representing hope, relationship, family obligation. The other says Esau, representing violence, danger, the historical enemy. The repetition expresses Yaakov's pain at this contradiction. Yaakov concludes his prayer by invoking the ultimate promise. Bereshit 32:13. Yet you have said, I will deal bountifully with you, and make your offspring as the sands of the sea, which are too numerous to count. Now comes Rashi's textual detective work. He asks, where did God promise Yaakov sand of the sea? He was only promised dust of the earth in Bereshit 28:14. The answer, Yaakov is referencing the ultimate promise made to his grandfather, Avraham, in Bereshit 22:17. He understands his personal destiny is inseparable from the larger divine promise made to his entire lineage. Look at the diagram. The promise to Avraham as the sands of the sea flows down to Yaakov as the dust of the earth. Yaakov sees the connection, the key insight. Yaakov's faith is not just personal, it is ancestral and dynastic. He understands that his survival is bound up with the covenant God made with Avraham, and therefore with the future of the entire Jewish people. Let me conclude with this synthesis. Yaakov's response embodies 3 pillars. Gifts, pragmatism. He does everything humanly possible to appease his brother and mitigate the threat. This is practical action in the physical world. Prayer, faith. He acknowledges his ultimate dependence on a power beyond himself, grounding his plea in covenant and humility. This is spiritual reliance on the divine. War, contingency. He prepares for the worst-case scenario, taking practical steps to ensure survival. This is responsible planning for all possibilities. The concluding thought, Yaakov's story, as illuminated by Rashi, provides a masterclass in navigating crisis. It demonstrates that true leadership lies not in choosing between action and faith, but in the masterful integration of both. When we face our own threatening situations, whether they're actual dangers or difficult relationships or professional challenges, we can learn from Yaakov. Be strategic, be prayerful, and be prepared. Don't just rely on one approach. Use gifts when diplomacy might work. Use prayer when you need divine assistance. And prepare for conflict when necessary. But always maintain your integrity and faith throughout. Thank you.